Hello, Pioneers. Today is Wednesday, February 5th. My name is Maddie Patton.
And I'm Kylie Bradshaw, and this is your weekly premiere of the press. Today we will be discussing where some of the president's nominees currently are in the advice and consent process, Trump's press conference with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, the new tariff deal between the U.S., Mexico, and Canada, as well as the deadly mass shooting that took place in Sweden yesterday. But before we get into that, here's Connor with a look into the recent plane crashes that occurred in the U.S. Connor?
Thanks, Kylie. Last Wednesday, the United States experienced its worst plane crash since September 11, 2001. An American Airlines flight traveling from Wichita, Kansas, carrying 28 members of the U.S. figure skating community and other passengers, was scheduled to land at Reagan Airport, located in Washington, D.C. Due to poor communication between air traffic controllers and increased altitude of a U.S. military Black Hawk helicopter, the commercial jet and helicopter collided midair, resulting in both plummeting into the cold water of the Potomac River. The crash occurred around 9 p.m. Wednesday, January 29th. And it immediately turned into a rescue effort. Due to Reagan International bordering Virginia, Maryland, and West Virginia, a multitude of first responders arrived on the scene to begin pulling people from the water. Unfortunately, rescue efforts eventually turned into recovery efforts as they were unable to find survivors. In total, 67 people lost their lives, including 60 members and 4 crew members of the commercial jet, as well as 3 military personnel on a Black Hawk helicopter. A little over a day following the plane crash over the Potomac, a medical plane went down near a Philadelphia neighborhood. The aircraft was transferring a pediatric patient back to Tajano, Mexico, after they had traveled to Philadelphia to receive a life-saving surgery. Shortly after takeoff, the aircraft went down near Philadelphia, killing 7 people, including the 6 on board the plane and 1 person on the ground, as well as injuring 25 others. It is unknown at this time what caused the crash. However, following the incident, videos of the plane caught on a doorbell camera have gone viral on social media. Now, before we get back to the desk, Addie takes a look into the recent Turkish fires. Addie?
Hi, Pioneers. Let's take a closer look into the Turkish fires.
On the 21st of January, a fire at a hotel at a ski resort in Turkey killed at least 78 people and injured 51 others. An official from the Union of Chambers of Turkish Engineers and Architects in Bolu, Eric Percy, said, quote, "The way the fire had spread suggested that the fire warning detection and extinguishing systems might have not been present," end quote. The fire started in the hotel's 4th floor kitchen/restaurant section. It occurred during the Turkish winter school break when the hotel was 80 to 90% full. The scale of the fire and the number of deaths was high, and the absence of smoke detectors, automatic sprinklers, functioning fire alarms, functioning emergency exit lights, and other fire safety measures was part of the issue. Rescue efforts were difficult by freezing weather and the hotel's remote location. Firefighters did not arrive until over an hour after the fire was reported. Most victims died from suffocation from smoke. 11 people had been taken into custody, including the hotel's owner, deputy mayor, and acting fire chief. 238 guests jumped from windows to escape, and some guests on higher floors tried to flee with their bedding, and some jumped to their deaths. At least 20 victims were children. Survivors say they described smelling smoke as much of an hour earlier. Multiple survivors said they heard no fire alarms and could not find fire escapes.
That's all for today, Pioneers. Now, back to the desk.
Thanks, Addie. Yesterday, the Senate Finance Committee voted 14-13 to proceed with President Trump's nomination of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. as Secretary of Health and Human Services. Now, RFK Jr.'s nomination will head to the Senate for deliberation, before possibly advancing to the full Senate. We can expect a final vote within a week or so.
Similar to RFK Jr., Tulsi Gabbard, President Trump's pick for Director of National Intelligence, went before the Senate Intelligence Committee last Thursday. And just yesterday, she was approved to continue with the nominee proceedings by a vote of 9-8. She will soon follow RFK Jr. by going before the Senate floor and possibly making it before the full Senate within the next week or so.
Last night, President Trump nominee for Attorney General Pam Bondi was confirmed by the Senate in a 54-46 vote. The 59-year-old former prosecutor and Florida Attorney General appeared in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee on February 15th, where she faced questions relating to her career history and how she would take on such a role as Attorney General. Democratic Senator from Pennsylvania, Sean Fetterman, was the only Democrat to call on his party, encouraging a bipartisan vote. He was also the only Democratic senator to vote in favor of Bondi, ensuring her with a 54-46 win. Before we continue with our show, Ava takes a look into Groundhog Day. Ava?
Good morning, Pioneers. Today we're going to be taking a closer look into Groundhog Day.
Are you asking me if I want the groundhog to see his shadow? I would love the groundhog to see his shadow because I love winter and I love snow and I love the cold and I would like 6 more weeks of winter.
I do not want the groundhog to see his shadow this year because I want it to get warmer and warmer, not colder.
Of course I would want the groundhog to see its shadow. I love the cold.
Thanks for watching. Now back to the desk.
Thanks, Ava. Yesterday, President Trump met with his first foreign leader as 47th President of the United States. Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu spent the day in the Oval Office discussing the futures of both Israel and Gaza as the war following the October 7, 2023 attacks continues to rage on in the Middle East. Later in the day, Trump and Netanyahu held a press conference where Trump discussed the idea of the U.S. possibly taking ownership of and remodeling the Gaza Strip, saying, quote, "We'll own it and be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons on the site," end quote. He went on to say, quote, "Level the site and get rid of the destroyed buildings, level it out, create an economic development that will supply unlimited numbers of jobs and housing for the people of the area," end quote.
Over the weekend, President Trump announced 25% tariffs on imports coming from Canada and Mexico. However, it didn't last long. Since the weekend, Trump has held multiple phone conversations with both the nation's leaders and has decided to put a 30-day hold on the tariffs, following Canada and Mexico's decisions to comply with Trump's concerns on the border security and drug trafficking. This decision came after Mexico willingly sent 10,000 of their National Guard troops to the southern border, and Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada, announced the nation's intention by enacting a $1.3 billion plan to help protect the U.S.-Canadian border.
Meanwhile, yesterday, at least 10 people were killed in the worst mass shooting Sweden has ever seen. The incident occurred at a school located in central Sweden around 12:30 p.m. local time. Police said at a conference held Tuesday that they believe the gunman is among the 10 who are dead. According to the BBC, quote, "The school it happened at provided municipal adult education, which Sweden's National Agency for Education explains is for people aged over 20 who did not finish primary or secondary school," end quote. The investigation is still ongoing as Swedish law enforcement tries to uncover the identities of the deceased as well as a possible motive for the incident.
That's all for our show today, Pioneers. As always, thanks for watching. For the press, I'm Maddie Patton.
And I'm Kylie Bradshaw. Make sure to tune in next Wednesday for more national news and have a great rest of your week.